Hi, it's Steve from Texas 10, and I'm here with this week's History Minute. I'm going to go to August 13th and 14th, sort of a two-day event, in what has been called the Brownsville Affair. You know, Teddy Roosevelt is on Mount Rushmore for a reason. He was one of our greatest presidents. He was relatively progressive. Texas has a good tie to Teddy because, as a lot of people know, he trained the Rough Riders, which he rode to glory in the Spanish-American War in Cuba. He trained them out of the Minger Hotel in San Antonio, so he spent a good deal of time in Texas. He was an outdoorsman. Teddy wasn't a Texan, but he's sort of like a Texan. But the Brownsville Affair is one of his, and it may be his biggest misstep. So what had happened was Brownsville, there used to be Fort Brown. That's why it's called Brownsville. And at Fort Brown, some of the Buffalo soldiers showed up to do their duty there. And the townsfolk didn't like it. It was a very segregated city at the time. Started harassing them. And then there was a night when this happened, the first night, August 13th, supposedly a white woman was raped and there was a shooting, and the townspeople identified the Buffalo soldiers as the perpetrators. Well, they all said, no, we were in our rooms that night. And the amazing thing was they were backed up by their commanding officers who were all white, said, no, this is a frame job. Well, Teddy heard about it, and there was an investigation by the local police, and he dishonorably discharged 167 soldiers, but not the white commanding officers for lack of order and decorum. And there was a big outcry over it. There was Senate investigations, but Teddy, for whatever reason, just stood by his decision. Teddy was a man of firm conviction, so it was hard to get him to change his mind, even though the evidence seemed to demonstrate that what he thought had gone on actually hadn't gone on, and this was all just prejudice, discrimination, and a way to get rid of the soldiers. Well, unfortunately, you know, time went on. They went on with their lives. They had a dishonorable discharge on the record. In 1970, there was a book about it. And it got brought to the attention of Richard Nixon, and when he looked at all the records and sort of the scholarly reviews of it, he realized that injustice had been done. He revoked all the dishonorable discharges, and there was one surviving Buffalo soldier who was in Minnesota, I believe it was, and he got a $25,000 check as a sort of reparations, or we're sorry. I don't think that really did it, but at least there was some level of justice there. So that's the Brownsville Affair, probably the darkest mark on Teddy Roosevelt's presidential slate, but at least it was somewhat rectified as history went on. Happy birthday this week to Charlie Paddock of Gainesville. Charlie Paddock he originated the title of World's Fastest Man when he won what was then the 100-yard dash in the 1920 Olympics. He eventually ran a time of 10.2 over 110 yards, which is almost precisely 100 meters. And that record stood for some absurd, like 35 years before anybody could run any faster. So he was the original world's fastest man, but a lot of people know him not for winning the 1920 Olympics or setting that record, but for losing in the 1924 Olympics, because he was the foil to the British athletes in the great film Chariots of Fire. And him losing the 100-meter race in Paris is one of the key moments of that movie. But still, he was the world's fastest man from Gainesville, Texas. Happy birthday to Charlie Paddock. Hope you're enjoying our content on Texas 10. If you do, please like, share, subscribe, comment, do all of those things. Tell a friend about Texas 10, and then go to texas10.com. We'll see you next week at Texas 10.